Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Nathan Fox. I am a co-founder of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. I have with me today a guest. I have Chris Murphy. Chris, you wrote us a real nice email. You're a satisfied Demon student. I'll just let you tell your story.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Nathan, for inviting me onto the podcast. I've been a longtime Demon user, but my LSAT success journey was not without its ups and downs and significant challenges. And I think it was the challenges in my LSAT study and official scores that really pushed me to get closer to my ultimate potential as a student. So for anyone who's had bad LSAT official scores, I'm definitely one of you. And I used that bad LSAT score to rethink how I was engaging with the demon and learning the materials that you and Ben put out there. So in September, I ended up with a 173 LSAT, which was right around where I was PTing on my best PTs. But a couple tests before that, I cratered all the way back down to my diagnostic on an LSAT in March, where I got a 159. And that served as a real wake-up call for me and forced me to be honest with myself about the way I was engaging the material and the way I was thinking about taking the test.
I have your total history here. You told us that you had a 158 diagnostic. On your first official test, you had a 165. Did you think about quitting there?
You know, I had a moment, as I think a lot of students do when they get into that score range and they start seeing that green on the scholarship estimator on your website, which I probably open daily to see where I'm at. But
That's lsatdemon.com/scholarships, by the way, if you'd like to look at what different LSAT scores might be able to get you scholarship wise. Go ahead, Chris.
yeah, and I carry with me a little bit of a suboptimal GPA. I've got a 3.6. And so what the estimator showed me is to not pay for law school and to go to the schools that I thought I was capable of going to, I needed a way better LSAT score. So I jumped back into my study program. But I think in a lot of ways that 165 and my higher diagnostic score was like fool's gold to me. So it allowed me to think that this was going to be a quick process, that I could brute force the LSAT and really would get results without putting in a lot of fundamental change in the way I was thinking about things. And so I noticed after I got a 159 on my subsequent test,
that was an official attempt number 2, a 159, down from a 165. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
And that was literally back to square one. And I think a lot of times when life throws us challenges that put us back to where we started, it's a time to regroup and reassess. And I found in my study habits, I was doing so many of the things that you and Ben and the other instructors I worked with at the DMN would constantly harp on. But I think because of issues of ego and kind of that false, really quick progress I had at the beginning with the DMN, none of that sank in. And I didn't want to admit I was doing those things. And it took a real tough experience for me to actually begin studying the way I should.
You have a list here. I keep glancing over at your email. You have a list of bullet points, examples of my bad habits. First one, speed reading and skimming questions.
Yeah. So I can read really quickly. And in my history, undergrad and my graduate school, that was like the best skill I had. And I relied on it constantly. That in the LSAT was the worst habit by far that I had. There were so many times when I would go back to look at a section that I couldn't believe I dropped points on and realize I didn't read the last sentence, or there's a critical word or a rule that I just didn't get to, or I read wrong. And so, I learned that if I spend 2 minutes on a question on LR or something, it's a good 2 minutes if a minute and a half of that are spent just understanding the argument and what it's trying to get across in the passage before looking at answers at all. And if I could really chew on every single word in that LR passage, I understood the answers almost before I went into it.
Oh, yeah. You'll find the trick. I mean, there's something wrong with the argument, right? There's like, oh, I see. I thought this made perfect sense, but nah, now I see that your evidence is just really not enough. And it's because of this one or two words very frequently And then you're answering the question before you even read the question. Okay, so that's logical reasoning, probably mostly maybe reading comprehension as well, where your speed reading and your skimming was not working for you. Then your next bullet point, you said that you were diagramming logic games before reading the entire stimulus. And I want to really make sure we hammer this for the listeners. You should not be diagramming the first rule, then diagramming the second rule, because you don't even know what the other rules are. Like, one of the later rules might change the game in such a way that you're like, oh, I don't even need to bother doing that because I can just do this other thing. Is that kind of your experience?
Absolutely. And this was a horrible habit I picked up when I was first exploring LSAT prep materials. I bought a top-rated book on Amazon, got it delivered in 2 days, and started going through their method for logic games, which was as soon as you read a rule, write it down.
Yeah.
And what I found is in writing down the rule, I thought I had it. That was it. I wrote down the rule. I crossed out a K, or F can't be with G, put an X on it. That rule doesn't tell me anything. All the rules are in their interpretation and their application.
Yeah, you're not solving the system. You're just like, well, yeah, that's the rule.
Yeah, and I found that I was just writing down the information that was already in the passage. I don't need to write that down. The rule set tells me right there the same thing I'm writing down, and nothing about that helps me. And so there were times when I would spend 30 seconds thinking my game was diagrammed, I had my rule set, and then the rest of the game would take me 12 or 15 minutes. And on that LSAT where I scored 159 on my official, there was one game I distinctly remember that I spent, I think, 14 minutes on this game, which some games might not be a horrible thing, but I realized that I had misread a conditional rule, didn't ever think about the second condition, and every diagram that I worked on for like 12, 13 minutes was incorrect. So I completely tanked the rest of that section. I didn't rebound, I couldn't salvage, and I realized it was because of fundamental misunderstanding of how I was approaching LG.
Awesome. Okay, the next thing you say, this applied to all sections. You said that you were focusing on the timer.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I noticed about myself is that whether it was skimming, speed reading, I was so focused on getting everything done. And there were times when I would finish sections with 7 or 8, 9 minutes left on the section, which to me eventually became a sign that I did something horribly wrong on the section. And I think trying to focus on the timer, thinking about the time leads you to a dark place in your LSAT. And that's exactly where I was at that 159. And I'll compare it to when I took the test in September and I got my, as of yet, highest score of 173. I was so focused on the exam and the questions that when I finished my 4th section, I didn't actually know I was done. I called the proctor and got into a little bit of a confused argument with the proctor because I thought there were more sections. I had no idea about the meta of the test. I was just going through, reading questions and answering. And I was so lost in the moment of understanding arguments and answering those that I had no idea that there weren't more sections ahead.
That's a clear sign that you're doing it right. You know, people worry about endurance. People panic and think like, well, I have to practice doing full tests because, you know, otherwise I'm going to run out of energy at the end of the test. And I'm like, well, maybe, but probably not, because if you get good at it, I mean, 4 sections, even with accommodations, we're still only talking about a few hours, and you're sitting down in a probably climate controlled environment. You're not like outside breaking rocks, you know, and it's like, well, if you're tired, if it's too much for you, then I have a feeling that it's just because you haven't gotten good enough at the individual questions. I mean, if you get better at the individual questions, then like Chris says, it's just going to fly by.
I couldn't agree more. And I realized what made sections taxing, what made tests taxing, were the baggage I was carrying in my own head. I was going through the test, thinking about what score I might get at the end. I was thinking about how many questions I was unsure of, and flagging those to go back later. I was so concerned with the weight of my entire law school journey that reading each word, understanding each sentence was secondary. And that's what gets you so tired, is that constant high level stress and anxiety about the whole entire process that causes you to pick up all those horrible habits.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do the whole workout right now, right? If you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how hard this is. Am I going to make it to the end of this class, or am I going to make it to the end of this workout? It's like, well, all you're doing is making yourself more tired by thinking about that. Why don't you just do the one thing that you're doing right now? Why don't you just stay in the moment? Like, you don't have to do those other exercises. Not right now. You're only doing this one. So settle down and just kind of take it one question at a time. That's amazing that you just forgot. Like you're like, it's what? The test is done, because meanwhile, other students are like so intensely focused, not only on the timer on their one section, but they also get super focused on things like, well, that section of logic games didn't go well for me. So I'm really hoping that there's going to be another section of logic games, because I'm really hoping that that previous section was the experimental section. And it's like, I mean, sure, but that doesn't help you. You're not solving, you're just not doing the assignment that's right there on the page in front of you. If you would forget all that and just do the assignment, you'd probably be in a lot better shape. You said you were obsessing over highlighting and control Fing during reading comprehension. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I think everybody that's involved in any type of LSAT prep community, you hear pretty early on that you got to control F during RC. You see a word in the question, you control F, see if you can find it in the passage, and that's your recipe for success. And the people writing the LSAT are smarter than that. They'll use synonyms or phrases or sentences that get across the same meaning that you could never control F for. And as I was going through passages, I was finding what I thought were key points, highlighting those, finding words that I thought might come up later, highlighting those. And it completely distracted me from understanding what the passage was saying, figuring out each paragraph, what they're arguing, figuring out the author POV and what they might think about this passage or a complementary passage. I wasn't engaging with it the way that I should, because I was so caught up in the meta test taking strategies and tips that sometimes I would completely miss the argument.
Yeah. Control F for topics, control F to try to answer questions, I think is a terrible plan. I did just recently realize that control F for periods. Our teacher, Matthew, is the one who reminded me of this, or who told me this in the first place. But if you do control F for period, just control F period, enter. It will highlight all the periods in the passage. And as you're reading the passage, that might help you to like stop, again, I don't do that. And I don't know a lot of people who do that. But if you're one of those students who races through the passage and then at the end of the passage, you don't have any understanding, a really good tip might be, hey, stop at every period and think about what you just read. The control F thing might help you do that a little bit.
Yeah. And I want to stress to, listeners who were like me, I listen to this podcast every day and the weekly one every week, that I heard all these things before going into these LSATs. I'd heard Ben and Nathan talk about it. I'd subscribed to Live and heard instructors talk about it. I wasn't honest in my appraisal of myself and what I was doing while I was taking the test. And I think what's critical while you're studying the LSAT and you're engaging these materials, you're also engaging with yourself and viewing yourself as an object as well. One of my favorite things to think about is the way our brains process information and create schemas in our head. And our brain is so good at deceiving ourselves, at providing excuses for ourselves about why things happened. So I remember thinking after taking tests and sections of, oh, that must have been a fairly difficult section compared to other ones, or this test was test number 25 and that's different from the test number 75 through 90, and that's why it was tough for me to do this. And I created so many of these emotional fallback spaces in my head that I never actually critically reflected on myself and the ways that I was taking the test and setting myself up for failure. And so I would just encourage other students to, after you take a test, you read the questions, you learn from the explanations in the Demon. You also think about what was your mental state as you were taking it? What things did you do while you took it that led you to succeed or fail?
fantastic. Your fifth bullet point here is you were picking the first answer that seemed good enough. That'll save time. That's how you finished 10 minutes early on the section.
Absolutely was. And the bad part is sometimes you'll do that and you'll be right. You'll get rewarded.
Yeah.
And what that allows you to do is build that horrible habit in yourself. And it also allows you to make a really quick mental excuse of, oh, I just missed that response number E, and that won't happen again. I'll go through and I'll read it, without realizing that what led you to that action of filling out the incorrect bubble was just jumping to the first thing that looked like it slightly fit. And I started to use analogies in my head when I was taking the test, that when you are reading LR, particularly RC, that the correct answers will fit so well. It's like the experience of placing a puzzle piece into the spot it's missing on a puzzle.
You feel the click.
Times you do. You feel the click, it slides in. And there's sometimes when I'm doing puzzles that I'll have one that really looks like it should fit. And it looks like the holes of the pegs match up, and I'll sit there and I'll be mashing it in. And sometimes I even leave them. And then I'll find the correct piece later and I'm like, oh my God, that one fit in. And that's exactly how answers should feel on LR. Every part of it should make perfect sense when it goes in, and it instantly makes every single other answer look so incredibly wrong that it's
I love that
you thought about it.
Yeah, on the hardest LSAT questions, you're sometimes going to have to get to that click first by process of elimination, right? So you read A, nah, read B, nah, same thing with C, same thing with D, same thing with E. Oh shit, I eliminated all 5 answers. None of these fit. Okay, well, but one of them in the minds of the test makers is a perfectly correct answer. I mean, they like one of those answers, according to them, is legally defensible. Otherwise, they never would have put it on the LSAT. So what you have to do then is like, okay, go back through the answers one more time, conclusively eliminate the ones where you're just like, there is no way in hell they meant that to be correct. Like that has to be wrong. Get rid of that one. And frequently you'll eliminate 4 conclusively, come back to one answer where the first time you read it, you were like, nah. And it's okay if you read it fast the first time. I mean, I think you should read answer choices fast the first time because 80% of them are wrong. But you read that one again and you go, okay, since I've eliminated these other 4 answers, and this one, maybe I didn't really take the time to think about it. But once you start thinking it through, you should be able to see how, oh shit, actually, yeah, if you interpret, maybe you were interpreting one phrase one way, but there's actually another way that phrase could be interpreted. And as soon as you see that, you go, oh, wait a second. If they meant this, and they must have, because they didn't, none of those other answers could even possibly be right. They must have meant this. And then when you say, oh shit, they meant that. Oh, now it clicks. It fits perfectly in that spot.
Yeah. And as I'm talking about checking in with myself as I'm taking a test, when I was taking a test and I got to an LR and I eliminated all the answer choices, that was a sign to me that I'm reading this and approaching the test in the right way. I have a critical mindset. It's tough for me to let an answer in. I'm doing the right thing. I realized I was in trouble when I would be going through answers and I would have 2 or 3 maybes I'm thinking about.
Ugh.
And that was a sign to me that I didn't understand the passage and I had to start over and go back to square one and re-engage the argument because there was something critical that I missed.
Yeah, even 2 is already bad. Like students like pat themselves on the back. Oh, I narrowed it down to 2. Well, yeah, but one of those is wrong. So you're, for whatever reason, you're considering at least one wrong answer. They might both be wrong, by the way. So I would never, ever get to 3. I've seen students sometimes they're like, well, I can't conclusively eliminate that answer, so I'll leave it open. Then they read another answer. Oh, I can't conclusively eliminate that one either, so I'll leave it open. And now they're reading a third answer? One of those 2 is wrong. Like, which one is it? You figure it out. You have to solve this. And the second you have what you think are 2 good answers, you know that one of them has to die. So I wouldn't even be reading a third answer if I had 2 contenders. Instead, I would be like, oh shit, I gotta sort this out because I'm already in trouble if I have 2 contenders. It's not good, it's bad to have 2 contenders. And I'm certainly not going to be looking for a third or fourth or fifth contender, God forbid. before I like do the actual work of processing those other answers. And I can keep one of them, but I can't keep both of them. I have to get rid of one of those answers. All right. So I don't know if we went through your whole study history. From that 159, you bounced back to a 169. You said that you built yourself back up using 3 mantras. You said, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah. And that speaks to the need for me taking the test to remove myself from any meta consideration I'm thinking about with the time, with having to find the answer. And what I realized is when I went into a question desperately thinking, I've got to find the answer to this question, I've got to solve the question, it caused me to rush and misunderstand everything. Slow and smooth on the LSAT for me meant reading a word, understanding a sentence, and figuring out what that sentence meant in the context of the argument on the passage. And when I did that, I was able to answer things so much faster than when I was so focused on moving quickly and answering the question from the get-go.
Second thing you said was read and understand every single word.
Yeah, and that was key because you have to understand as a candidate that LSAC chooses every single word purposefully in the passage to put it in there and in the answers as well. And there were times when I would fall in love with words on answers. There would be half of an answer that would look fantastic, exactly what I was looking for. But the other words in the answer would clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, eliminate it. And so it's important that you're digesting every single piece of content that they provide to you on the page. That's your key to success. And when you actually read and understand everything that they write for you, a lot of times the questions are a breeze.
Last one, you said the test makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it does. And I think it's key to know going in as a candidate that when you get to a question, there's one correct answer. There are 4 wrong ones. And it's that way every single time. The test doesn't play in maybes or close, or you almost had that one. There's one thing that is definitively, without argument, the correct answer. And so understanding that allows you to go into the question with a critical mindset to really eliminate those questions that are incorrect and then select the one that definitively answers the prompt.
Yeah, you have to find the click, right? It's not like, oh, well, that one fits, but this one is a better fit. No. That other one doesn't fit. This one fits. You can feel the click. It should make perfect sense. You see students like just they end up, especially when if I listen to a student reason their way through a question, like one answer choice at a time, I'll see them, sometimes they eliminate the right answer for the wrong reason, which is okay because eliminating all 5 is a good sign. You just said it, Chris. You felt like you were on the right track when you eliminated all 5 answers. I'll see a student eliminate one of the right answers, and then as they get closer to the end of the answer choices, like, especially D and then major problem with E, I'll see students start coming up with all these convoluted rationales for why this answer's got to be the one. And I think you should have been more critical of that answer the first time you read it, which means sometimes you're going to read all 5 and hate all 5 and then have to start over. That's fine. What's not fine is I hated A, I hated B, I hated C. Now I'm starting to lower my standards. I hate D, but well, it has to be. Okay, so it's got to be E. And now you're reading E with this like, well, I'm going to make E fit. You can see them like getting out their hammer to try to hammer the puzzle piece in. And it's like, that's not it. It should click perfectly. And then it's like when they finally get it, you see the light bulb come on and it's just like, oh, yeah, right. Totally. Like how could I possibly have even been making this convoluted case for this other garbage answer now that I see which one like actually does give you the click?
Yeah. And I think it was key for me in when I saw the mistake I made and I got the correct answer from the explanation, watching a video with you and Ben, that I actually sat with it for a second. And I didn't just go, oh, that was it, got it, and move on to the next one in drilling. That I actually thought about what is it that led me to select that one? What are the things I misread? What was the sentence I didn't understand? So that next time I actually had a schema for when I was approaching a question and I was feeling in a similar way.
Beautiful. I have a million different directions I want to go, but I'll stick with your email. You built yourself. Oh, I know what it was I wanted to say. I do want to say this. What we're just talking about, I've never really thought about it this way, but I have known for a long time that it's really important that you never stop doing easy LSAT questions. Like you can't just only drill the hardest ones, because if you only drill the hardest ones, then you end up thinking that the LSAT is hard. And you like get yourself into this mode of, well, the right answer is not going to be obvious. I have to finagle, I have to make a convoluted case. And, oh, that one seems like it's right, but it's probably not. It's probably a trap, because this is a level 5 difficulty question or whatever. And students who go down that road, I mean, sometimes they're scoring high 160s or whatever, and they're like, well, so I just need to work on the hardest ones. And I understand why they're doing it. I also am sure that it's a terrible strategy. You need to always be doing mixed practice. You need to always be doing timed sections. Timed sections are great because every section starts off with a whole bunch of really easy questions, right? There could be some harder ones sprinkled in there, and your experience might vary. You might have a hard time with some of them, including the very first question. Who cares? Point is, most of the questions in the first 10 are going to be really easy. And you should be regularly doing those timed sections of real LSATs so that you can realize how damn easy the test actually is. Yeah, there's going to be some harder ones later probably, but the vast majority of them, it's like, well, there's only one even possibly, like there's no theoretical way that these other answers could be right. This answer is obviously right. And you have to like, it is important that you remember that the test makes perfect sense. With the way we say it is the LSAT is easy.
Nathan, you described my study to a T with the Demon. And when I said I was not engaging with the lessons properly, I was a drilling only student, especially when it came to logic games early on in my subscriptions on the Demon. And I realized later, to use a basketball analogy, more than half of the points in your section are layups. And if you spend your whole study prep shooting 3-pointers, you might get to a point where you can hit a lot of them, and then you're going to drop easy points. And so I found, especially with logic games, I got to a point with the difficult games when I was doing pretty well. But when I would take time sections or I would do an official, some of the early games or the easy games, I would just miss bunnies, those easy ones, or they would take me so long. I was so not used to filling out proper worlds and doing things in a really quick and methodical way that I would waste time on those easy questions because I didn't practice absolutely crushing those. And I think if you can get to a point in your practice where you just destroy those games.
Totally.
They go quick, you're confident, every answer is correct. You have more time and also confidence in yourself when you get to those later games in the section.
Totally. Every student thinks that their problem with that section of games was the hard game 4 or maybe game 3 where they got stuck. And always, that's not your problem. Your problem is you didn't crush the first game hard enough or the second game hard enough. Like you're not killing the easy stuff. So that's why we say the LSAT, or one of the reasons why we say the LSAT is easy, that you just really need to focus your prep on, okay, I'm going to dominate the easiest parts of this test. And if I dominate the easiest parts of this test, then I'm going to have plenty of time to grind out, some of the harder parts of the test. Okay, so you break out of your funk, you score a 169 on your third official attempt. And you say, I knew it could get me into a lot of great schools, that 169, but I also knew I was capable of scoring higher. So what'd you do then?
Well, I still remember the morning when I opened the LSAC score report and saw I was a 169. I think I expected to feel pretty excited. I mean, that was a 4-point jump from my highest, a 10-point jump from my last score. And I really didn't. It left a bad taste in my mouth. And that was because I'd been taking PTs regularly. I had been taking practice sections regularly. I saw scores that I was capable of. 170 in that low 170s range was not uncommon for me. And so I knew that I should have done better. And I would do better if I took it again. And so I think maybe one day after I got that score report, I was registered for the next LSAT, because I knew that if I had another crack at it with another month of study, that I would definitely do better.
And I'm guessing you didn't do anything differently than in that last month of prep.
I didn't, because I think for a lot of students, I put myself in the same category, and probably for everyone using the Demon, you've got the horsepower to run this race. And I think when it comes to LSAT prep, it's a learnable test. The LSAT is easy. Everybody has what it takes to get a high score. And I knew for me that what I needed to work on was my brain state when I was taking the test, my emotions when I was taking the test, my focus when I was taking the test. And those are all things I can control. I knew how to do the LSAT. I was just getting in my own way with these bad habits and the way I was letting my brain deceive me while taking it. And so in that month, before I took the next LSAT, I didn't change a single thing. I was taking practice sections. I was taking practice tests. I didn't have time for those. I was drilling in between. Didn't change a thing. What I focused on when I was doing those was making sure my brain was right, my mindset was right, my emotions were right when I was taking those.
At the end of your email, you said, I eventually came to a point where studying the LSAT was truly fun, and I loved taking sections and practice tests. Many students describe LSAT studying as hell. I never felt that way. But if LSAT studying truly is hell, then it pays to have the Demon on your side. So, thank you for the ad copy. We will steal that, I'm sure. I appreciate it very much. Okay, so all that got you from a 158 diagnostic to a 173 official on your fourth attempt. 15-point improvement. It's a, low 170 score is fantastic. Any thoughts of taking it a fifth time?
It's incredible. The moment when I saw my 173, I was excited this time. But I also heard you and Ben in the back of my head telling me to get greedy on my next one. And so I'm thinking about it. But I also have your same advice in my head of the importance of applying in September and October. And so for me, with the schools I was looking at, a 173 was way over their 75th percentiles on those. The scholarship estimator tells me good information. So I actually sent out applications yesterday and today to a lot of the schools.
Cool.
So I'm hoping that the 173 will open some doors for me. And I can see already just in that 4 points between 169 and 173, the fee waivers have just been raining in my inbox from schools that wouldn't even have given me a look before. And I think that shows how critical getting the LSAT score you're capable of is.
Yeah. If the offers aren't fabulous this cycle, I hope you will consider retaking one more time. It seems to me that LSAT is getting more and more competitive. We have people making like wild improvements. We have people reaching the 170s who started in literally the 130s. And so if you started not in the 130s, not in the 140s, not in the 150s, but in the high 150s, 158 is a fantastic diagnostic. I have no doubt that you could reach the high 170s eventually. Of course, it all just depends on, what you want to do with your life. And if you're happy with, sounds like you might have some geographical limitations. Are you looking for local stuff?
I'm looking in the Midwest region. I'm in Illinois now, but there are so many quality schools here, WashU, Northwestern, UChicago. And so I'm looking to stay here, but you've also instilled in me through the Demon and the podcast, the importance of making sure you're valued by these schools. And the one way that these schools can communicate value to you as a candidate is in scholarships. And so if a school or all the schools I apply to don't give me what I need to feel valued as a candidate, I will definitely go back into the next cycle with an even higher score.
Yeah. You have to be willing to walk away. I mean, that's why, in your case, Chris, it's like two pieces of advice. First piece of advice, you apply broadly. You've already applied early. That's great. You apply broadly, especially if you're getting unsolicited fee waivers from schools. It's like, hey, not going to take that much more work, not going to cost me any money. Why don't I give it a shot? By the way, I don't know if you've asked for any of the LSAC fee waivers. Those are harder to get, that $45 report fee, but they're there. They are out there. You can get those 40. Now, in that case, the school actually has to pay $45 to the law school admission council. But if you think about it from their perspective, I mean, depending on what type of a school you're applying to, it's either a reach school where you're going to pay full tuition. In that case, they can waive they can pay a $45 fee to have the chance of getting $150,000 out of you. So it's a good bet from their perspective. And if a school is like, let's say your LSAT is above their 75th percentile, if you're applying at a school where you think you are a good candidate for significant scholarship money, also what's that $45 to them? I mean, they're going to give you free tuition probably if they admit you. And so they can probably pay $45 additional on top of the $45,000 that they're going to give you for 3 straight years. So why not? Have you gotten any of those?
I applied and didn't get the CAS fee waiver, but every student absolutely should. The bottom line at their school is not going to be hurt by them sending 45 on their half.
Nah.
And it makes a difference as a candidate. Applying broadly lets you negotiate. It allows you to look at different schools. You can place scholarships off each other. With that fee waiver from LSAC and the school fee waivers, there's no limit to the applications you can send. It is true that some schools have policies where it's like, well, we need to, if you have a competing offer, from a peer school that you think you want to show us, we will evaluate that competing offer and then maybe make you another offer. So that's a good reason to get some offers in hand. But another really good reason has nothing to do with playing one school off another. It's just giving you a better walking away point. Right now, if you don't get any good offers, your walking away point is still not bad, because your walking away point is simply, I'll apply again next cycle, maybe with a better LSAT. So I know that things are going to work out in my favor. If you're willing to do that, fantastic. But if you have to go this cycle, then you definitely should apply really broadly, because you want to be able to walk away from a school that just gives you an offer that's not good enough. If you know that school gives other people more money than that, and if you have a really nice offer from some other school, then it's not about like, hey, you have to match this offer. It's just like, I'm taking that offer. And the second you are willing to take that offer, then they might come back with more money, actually. It's not even like you're negotiating. You're just saying, oh, that's not as good of a deal. I'm going over here. Yeah. And one of the first episodes I remember listening to in your podcast was when you interviewed Law School Transparency.
Yeah.
And to me, that completely changed the way I was looking at schools, from being really ranking and prestige focused to actually looking at what are the outcomes for me as a student from graduating from that program. And I think doing that, researching the schools at that level, makes full rides at regional schools or the large publics in the state so much more attractive. And so I'd encourage students, as they're applying broadly, to not just look at the Ivies and not look at your top 14, but look at what are the career outcomes at some of those larger schools in your state. And I think you'll be surprised.
Oh, yeah. You realize that they put people into big law, federal clerkships, whatever public interest stuff you're interested in, all kinds of public service stuff. It's like, yeah, they're real law schools. They're not fake. Like, just because it's not Harvard doesn't mean it's not a law school that can build a career path for you. And when the price is right, then it just makes the whole endeavor so much less, scary. Excellent, Chris. Thank you so much. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about you and what you do, where you are, and what you're working on?
Yeah, so I currently work at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I work running 2 academic programs, teaching classes, and I'm also a Title IX investigator here, investigating incidents of sexual misconduct. And for me, that's really where my interest in law, with that intersection in education, really came to the fore. And so I found it's something I'm good at. It's something I really enjoy, and pushed me to look at law schools. And the LSAT demon taught me to bet on myself and my LSAT prep, take it until I get the score that I'm capable of. And also in applying to schools now, that's the same way I'm looking at it. So I have a diverse portfolio of schools I'm looking at: regionals, public, high ranked, some mid-ranked schools, because I'm confident that if I go to those programs, that I can bet on myself again and get some of those higher career outcomes at those schools that I'm capable of achieving.
Amazing. Thanks for coming on the show. Hope you'll keep in touch. Find me on LinkedIn or whatever, Chris. I definitely want to follow your career. Thanks again. Just I want to thank you as a student. I want to thank you for trusting us with your LSAT prep. We know how important this is. We think we can help you a lot if you follow our advice. It's very gratifying when people, actually do the things that we think are best practices for the LSAT, but ultimately you're the one who put in all that work. You did roughly how many practice tests do you think?
I don't even think I could tell you, to be honest. It had to be 30 or 40.
Yeah, dozens anyway, and 4 official tests. And that must have been at least 6 months, 9 months of your life. You paid us some money for your LSAT prep, which we appreciate. Thank you for. Hopefully it turned out to be a really good investment. But you'll have to let me know when the scholarship offers start coming in.
Absolutely. And you won't remember this, Nathan, but one of the first free classes I came to, I remember typing in chat that if the LSAT demon got me a score over 170, that I would have to buy some merch to rep the program. And as of 2 days ago, I hit it. So I'm going to go to your merch store and see what I can find, because I truly believe in what you did. And I want to thank you and the demon.
That's awesome.
Well, money well spent, incredible program and great results for me.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for listening. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news.